Namaste. This is Dr. R. Suresha, Assistant Professor in IKS EDS Center, Central Sanskrit University, Deccan College, Pune. Today I am going to present on the topic Sustainable IKS. Let us try to understand what is IKS, Indian Knowledge System. There are basically three kinds of knowledge systems available at present. They are Western knowledge system, Arabic knowledge system, and Indian knowledge system as well. As we already know, Indian knowledge system has been promoted and established by central government, union government in 2020 along with NEP 2020. So, Indian knowledge system has got certain primary structures. When coming to the knowledge system, there are two important aspects. One, the organized structure, and the second one is the dynamic process. Any knowledge system happens to have these two core components. The organized structure gives the fabric, whereas the dynamic process is getting the knowledge system open for adaptation. That is openness and stringent values. These two combined together becomes knowledge system. When it comes to Indian knowledge system, it has evolved over a period of time. As far as the historians concerned, there are two divergent opinions. In spite of all these things, these evolved entities or the knowledge have got specific significance in this day and age. As far as the sustainability component of Indian knowledge system is concerned, generally we look at from the angle of SWOT analysis. That is to say, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. This Indian knowledge system should be evaluated from these four angles for the future progression. The first and foremost aspect is to see the inclusiveness of Indian knowledge system. There is a beautiful adage or statement: those who know the history can create the history. So, in the historical footprints, one can understand that there was an issue of inclusivity in the society with which Indian civilization has been subjected to enslavement for over thousands of years. So, with drawing the lessons from the history, we need to bring the roadmap for the future. So, first and foremost thing is inclusivity. No community, no part of India should be excluded from Indian knowledge system. So, all the community has to be given due representation. Point number one. Second, one needs to think of how Indian knowledge system can be incorporated in the present scenario. As we already know, we have been under um, foreign invasion for over millennia. So, our education system is obviously westernized, whether it is industrialization or education. In many spheres of our life, it is Western knowledge system that is dominating in India. In this present scenario, Indian knowledge system cannot be brought all of a sudden. At the same time, we cannot discount upon the greatest civilizational benefit that we have been inherited so far. Here is a tag. What can be done? Indian knowledge system need not be introduced as an independent subject like value education. Rather, it can be introduced as the invariable component of all the subjects that the students study. For example, if a student has to study in the primary, secondary, or tertiary education, depending on the availability of the current resources, one can think of blending, integrating the Indian component in that particular domain. For example, if we take the teaching of economics, Kautilya Arthashastra can be incorporated and related components can be included as and when it is necessary. Indian knowledge system is trying to develop the discussion, debate, and deliberation, dialogue, and dissent. Through these five D's, one can think of discovery. So, the discovery is the ultimate goal through for which the division of Indian knowledge is trying to push the discovery. And coming to the point of inclusiveness, we need to have a certain balance. That is to say, there are some communities which are completely aloof, apart from the mainstream education. So they need to be given priority. And secondly, we need to avoid the extreme approaches. That is to say, everything was there in the past in the Indian knowledge system. This is one approach, extreme approach. Yadi hasti tadanyatra yanne hasti natat kvachit. That is the famous statement regarding Mahabharata. Whatever is available here in Mahabharata is available elsewhere. This approach may not be suitable at present. And पुराणमित्येव न साधु सर्वं न चापि काव्यं नवमित्यवद्यं सन्तः परीक्ष्य अन्यतरद् भजन्ते मूढः परप्रत्ययनेय बुद्धिः is the beautiful golden mean suggested by none other than Kalidas. So that needs to be our guiding light. At the same time, there is another extreme where Indian knowledge system has been thrown away or disapproved by a section of academia. So avoiding these two extremities, everything in Indian knowledge system, nothing in Indian knowledge system. Avoiding these two extremities, one needs to adopt, particularly the academia needs to develop, teachers needs to be trained to develop the golden mean in between. So this is one of the core areas where one can think of sustainable Indian knowledge system. And the beauty of Indian knowledge system is more about having the development orientation. There is no pages of history where one can find the stagnation. Till today, we claim to have the rich resources in our ancient tradition. Tradition, I mean, it is not only recorded in the books and palm leaves, rather it is developed over a period of time through lifestyles. That is the reason Government of India has taken a giant step to incorporate and introduce tribal university. So from tribal tradition to the most developed advanced traditions. We have a number of communities in India which is known for its diversity. All these diverse knowledge needs to be retained. How it is possible? It is possible through giving enough opportunity, equity in opportunity. That means resources need to be shared among all the communities. So knowledge inherited by the communities needs to be documented. One of the important points of sustainability is documentation. Though we had rich traditions in the past, because of lack of documentation, we were unable to sustain for longer period, and documentation is the need of the hour. And last but not the least, it is important to see the possibility and the productivity as well. So Indian knowledge system is not in contrast, not in competition with Western knowledge system. Rather, it needs to go in tandem with other available knowledge systems. So one needs to have these three primary approaches in order to see the sustainability of the Indian knowledge system. It is said in the past, एतद्देश प्रसूतस्य सकाशादग्रजन्मनः स्वं स्वं चरित्रं शिक्षेरन् पृथिव्याः सर्वमानवाः. And at the same time, there is a beautiful balance in our own tradition which says Shrutayascha bhinnaha smrtayascha bhinnaha naikorushiryasya matam pramanam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasya panthaha. So the balanced approach is the need of the hour, and sustain in order to have a sustainable growth, one needs to think of these aspects in bringing the Indian knowledge system to the current flow of every walks of life. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Dhanyavad.